to another episode of Devs Like Us. I'm JB.
I'm Clarence.
I'm Terrence.
How y'all feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. It's almost the weekend, so doing awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. How
Simple
about
enough.
you?
I'm good. Can't complain. This has actually been a really good week for me. That one day off really helped out. But yeah. How about you, T-Man?
Who, me? No, but yeah, I'm great. No complaints. Been getting a lot of things done this week. Happy to meet back with you all again for another episode. So I'm excited. Like that. I like that shirt, JB. Can we get a peep of the shirt?
You want to get in there?
Is it black
Hey.
tag? Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice.
I like
Make
how
sure y'all
it's kind of got our color scheme too for our cover, our artwork.
Exactly. I'm trying to make sure I blend in with the background seamlessly.
I got you.
But, before we forget and before we start any conversation, for our audience, make sure that you like, subscribe, hit those post notifications so you can be notified every time that we upload. So you won't be the last to know about the information that we like to share. So guys, let's get into this. So I'm sure we all heard about Amazon going through the process of having a career day, and they're planning to hire around 33,000 new employees, which I think is a really interesting process. I understand that, with COVID and everything, their shipping demands and things have really increased over time, and that they're trying to, make sure they can sustain during this process. But that's really ambitious. I'm really interested to see how that goes, because this 33,000 is spanning, across not only the warehouse workers, but the people in the office, the people behind the cloud computing and all of that. So what do you guys think about it?
My first thoughts was might be time to brush off the old resume,
Clarence always job
hopper, ready.
It might be
ready
time to kind of see what kind of fish are out there. It's a sea full of fish. So just see, that's 33,000 fish. I just want one.
I just want my spot. That's it.
Now, I do think it's pretty ambitious, but I do feel like a company of its size that's probably like a normal. I mean, on a day to day, how many people they probably bring on? What just happened?
He almost dropped his mic.
Did it slide forward?
We're good.
Oh,
continue, Clarence.
But yeah, I feel like for a company of that size, it probably is a normal Monday morning where they hire that many people, across the company spectrum. But I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I didn't get a chance to see what all opportunities were going to be offered, but I believe what I saw is that it's mostly corporate positions. So hopefully there's some technologist stuff, probably some, I'm sure, finance, things to keep the business running and that kind of thing.
Yeah. How about you, Terrence?
I think it's great. I know a lot of folks have complaints. Don't get me wrong. I know no company is perfect. There's pros and cons to both. But when it comes to people getting hired, I'm all for it. And so I love the fact that they're giving folks an opportunity. I love the fact that I think the minimum job, I think it starts at $15 an hour for folks within the factory. And then I know corporate, they're talking average of 150 plus, which sounds about right. My advice to all the developers out there, if you're interested in that, just make sure that AWS has a ton of resources to go and play around within their cloud and environment. And I just say seize the moment for sure.
There's a lot of free training and things out there for you. Like, I believe it was them. Yeah, I believe it's Amazon has a machine learning YouTube channel that's dedicated just for that, because the fact that, for machine learning, for a lot of years, people were relying on academia to be the front runner. But now, that we're coming into this age, academia and industry, they're pretty much at the same levels. And so it's how can we prepare people to be ready for when they come out into the real world? And so Amazon is really taking the initiative to put that out there for people.
Yeah.
They
I think
also,
also. Oh, go ahead, Terrence. I'm sorry.
I was saying they also said that, their stock is up 77% over the last year, and stock options is also included in that package if you're looking for those corporate
Sweet.
or technical
yes.
positions.
Sweet.
Sounds like an opportunity. What were we
What were
about
you
to say,
about to say,
Clarence?
Clarence?
All I was going to say was one thing that came to mind, when I saw it was that, even if you're not looking for a job right now, with everything that's going on, you might feel comfortable where you are, but it might be definitely something to kind of see what are they offering, what kind of skill sets do you could kind of do a little bit of comparison of what you already have, maybe something that you might need. I know a lot of times with different job postings, I always like to see what's everybody else looking for, because that could be something that you could pick up that offer as an asset to your company. So it's kind of a overall bigger picture to kind of see like what's being offered, what can you learn, what can you grow from, and just overall just bettering yourself.
Yeah, and it makes you a lot more marketable.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, since we're done with that one, y'all done with that?
I feel
Yeah,
good
I'm
about
good.
that.
Sounds like good news to me.
All right. So now that we got past Amazon, anybody else got any news they want to add? How about you, Terrence?
Oh, yes. So Progress snagged the software automation platform known as Chef. Anybody familiar with Chef?
Yeah.
For $220 million.
Whew, that's a big bag.
$220 million.
And Chef was 100% open source, went 100% open source last year, and they still got that evaluation. So for everyone that thinks that there's not a business model behind open source, there you go, 220 mil.
Nice.
And this goes back to our last episode where we talked about people working on open source projects being seen.
True. I will say, like, how does that make y'all feel when you see like companies like that get like these big deals? It's like, is it inspiration? Is it just like, work, I need to work harder? Like, what is it? What's your, like, how do you feel about it?
I don't know. For me personally, it's not really a thing for me too much. Maybe it's just because I'm not in the Silicon Valley type mindset of, I'm going to produce a startup, make a lot of money, and then sell it off to someone, and then, go and do the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's great for, the people who work there because Progress is a pretty big company. And when I say people who work there, I mean the people from Chef who are going to Progress now. But for me, that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with JB. You can't compare yourself to a large corporation like that. It's like, oh, this large corporation did this, and I'm just doing the X, Y, and Z. So they grew
Just
into
my
that.
regular 9 to 5.
Right. So they definitely, I mean, they grew into that. But I think it's great for open source, and I'm a big believer in open source, and I think it makes business sense, and I think it makes sense for this and the entire ecosystem. It gives folks who don't have a job opportunities to contribute and build up their resume. There's always money in being able to provide services and being able to go into corporations as a contractor and be a subject matter expert on that open source platform and make sure you're running those services. So I think it's great. I think it's an awesome move by Progress. I'm an Ansible guy myself. I love Ansible, but Chef has been around and it's still extremely popular. So I'd love to see how that pans out. See where where Progress takes it.
I mean, I also think it's interesting to just learn about their business model that they had to get to this point.
True.
Just because for me right now, I'm not looking to build a business, but if I ever was, just learning and seeing all these different companies that have sold themselves off to someone else, how they built themselves up to be marketable for that sale.
I like that.
That's
that.
And I've said it before, regardless of if you are open source or not, you have to have some part of your offering. If you, when you get big, if you're a big corporation, like all the big four, they all have some foot within the open source community. So I think it's good news.
How about you, Clarence? Since you're throwing these questions at us, was there any inspiration that came from this? Did you gain it?
I always get inspired when I see companies like that, get bought out, because I think that, like, you get a chance to see something you've put a lot of work in. You've been going at it for a long time, and I think you touched on it, as like kind of seeing their business model. How long have they been working on this? Because a lot of times you hear a lot of startups, they've been in the game for years and years, and like they just really found something that kind of give them a light to bigger corporations, and kind of like I guess building something that is a huge need for other people. But I find it very inspiring. I as I see them more and more, it's just like, okay, if I was to build a company, I hope that I could, get some type of offering like that one day, or if anything, just like what was their motivation behind, what they were doing, were they just like us, who are just kind of like, you're doing something one day, but then you got a spark of an idea, and 5 months later you got an actual company that services companies.
True. And I mean, one of the good things about, sparking ideas is, you find something that you're interested in, and that that really meshes well with you, and you develop and you grow. And one way to really expand upon that spark of an idea is to do tech talks, which is our topic for today. The importance of doing tech talks and why, and things like that. And so, one of the things I wanted to ask you guys was, have either of you ever given tech talks? Well, we know
Yes.
Mr. Conference over here, he's definitely given tech talks. So we'll let him start it off for us.
Yeah. So, and for my personal experience, I believe tech talks overall are like a great positive experience. There's probably a lot of nerves that are spiked there. There's a lot of like fear of the unknown spark there, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like your first time riding a roller coaster. You don't really know how. You've seen the roller coaster go. You've seen the people screaming. Some people seem like they're having fun. Some people seem like they're not having fun. But you see them going back on, like they keep going back again and again and again. So I would compare it to basically like a roller coaster ride for some people. Other people, it's just they just love to be in front of folks. They love talking. It's everything that they always thought it would be, and they do it. But for me, it's definitely a roller coaster ride. There's always something that throws you off, and you gotta kind of be able to roll with it and keep pushing. But I think it's always good to start small, talk, do little small tech exchanges within your organization or your office, with your classmates, with the meetups as we discussed before, and just I think, if you want to be great within the community, you need to do tech talks. I guess you could write books and write articles and not get up and speak, but like even the authors get up, and because people are going to want to speak, people are going to want to hear you speak, and they're going to want to learn from you. And that's one of the best ways for people to receive information, is for you getting up and talking to them. So I think tech talks are great. I think regardless of how you feel, you should always take that step and do it. So that's, in my experience, has been overwhelmingly positive. Even if I feel like I've bombed, I've still somewhat been able to transfer knowledge to someone. So I say do it. I think everyone should put it on their to-do list and continue to do it at least once or twice a year. And if you're getting hired, the business folks are going to make you, like, even if if you're good, you're gonna end up talking to folks. Like, I don't know any organization where you don't have, at least even if it's a conference chat, where you're gonna have to explain something. If you're one of the best, they're gonna want you to talk about it.
Yeah,
you're not gonna be able to hide.
That's
the
true.
better you are, the better you do, the less code you write. Sorry.
Hey, there's
No
something to say
explanation.
about that.
I didn't do that at all last week. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The better
That was a good one. That was definitely a good
the
one.
better developer you are, the less you'll be actually hands to keyboard. That's when you go over the difference from being a developer to being software engineer to being like principal architect, like all that. Like there's levels. So don't get me wrong. There's been some great developers that's been managed to be able to be hands on keyboard, but in all reality, in most organizations, the better you are as a developer, the less code you're going to write.
Right.
And for most organizations, I mean, if you're working on an open source project where it's just like you writing the code, maybe you might be able to work it out. But for the most part, they're going to want you leading and teaching the other folks on the team, not necessarily teaching, but like guiding them. So
Right.
Yeah.
But Clarence, how about your experience?
So I don't have any like big stage experience, but I guess like as far as like, within the office, I think personal experience with it is that it does feel pretty good. I think it goes hand in hand with kind of like our news earlier where you saw kind of like somebody who put in some work, they presented it to somebody kind of drew interest, and bam, now they have their, they've sold their baby basically to someone else. But for me, it's kind of similar, the same. There's like the satisfaction of seeing your hard work, somebody appreciate it or give you like some good feedback to kind of work on or add to. But it's kind of like to me, it feels like it's a milestone to know that, all right, I've been, hands to keyboard day in, day out. And, now that somebody can actually see it, feel it, get a chance to actually say, this is what we've been waiting on, it feels really good.
Okay. Yeah, for me personally,
JB, how about your experience, JB?
I've done quite a few. So I've had the opportunity to do like tech talks for college students to, gauge their interest in certain topic areas and, kind of a recruitment for my job. And then I've also had tech talks where we have visitors at my job and they're coming in. It's like, hey, tell them about your project, tell them what you're doing, type thing. And so when you, for me personally, at my job, at least, it gets kind of repetitive because a lot of people are coming in, especially if you have that new hotness.
But don't you love that though?
I do love it.
I love
but
repetitive.
Sometimes it comes like, you're in the middle of something. It's like, hey, we got such and such. Can you tell them about yourself? It's like, oh gosh, let me, get myself set up. But when it's, a plan that's already laid out and you're prepared for them, I'm cool. Yeah.
Being prepared over like last second, hey, can you do this tomorrow? You have no slides, no nothing. Yeah. Totally different feeling. Totally different feeling.
I don't know about y'all too. When you do a live demo, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump over y'all. I was gonna say
live demo is just
when you do a live demo, everything could go wrong. Everything can go wrong.
You're going out of order, man.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Live demos.
Oh, I did jump. My bad.
See who pays attention. But yeah, live demos is like that.
Hold on, JB, you gonna run with it, or you gonna go back?
Run with it. Running with it. Live demos, they sometimes get people. It's a lot of people have the saying of, when something can fail, it will, and it's usually that live demo. Because you're sitting there, and it's like, all right, let's go ahead and get this set up, and either the network's not working, your computer doesn't want to cooperate like it's supposed to, so now we got to restart, unplug, all that fun stuff for 10 seconds, and you have people just standing around, and it's quiet in the room, and nerves start to kick in and all that stuff. And so, like for me personally, I've gotten to the point now where I have like a screen recording of everything that's going to happen. And the funny thing is that most of the time that people see it, they're like, "Oh, is this live?" And it's like, "No, I just hit one button over here. That's it."
So are you acting like you're doing it live at all? Like
not even. When I'm there, I'm the reason I like to have a recording is because then I can talk to it as it's going through, and I don't have to be sitting over there, trying to type it through. And then it's like, yeah, this is what's happening here, type of thing, where, I can sit there and be like, okay, well, at this point, this is what's happening in the code and things like that. So people can really understand the process that's happening in the background. Because for certain projects, it looks super simple on the front end, and it's like, well, you could have done this in like 3 lines or something, right? And it's like, you have no idea what's in the backside of it.
And each line matters. I feel like a lot of people definitely play it down that, one line doesn't make a difference, but that one line could be something that you've been working on all day.
Clarence, who you been talking to says one line doesn't make a difference?
Hey, some people, no, I've been in situations where people kind of see the end product and they're just like, oh, that's it. And it's just like, you kind of grab yourself because you're like, do you not know I was up all night trying to get this to work?
No, but that's a good point, and that's where the lack of understanding. So if you haven't had your personal experience with a certain technology, there's no way of knowing how much that technology does it for you and how much you have to make the technology, do the task or function that you're demoing. But I do think that brings up a good point. Like, one of the things, your main goal, and sometimes I even have to remind myself of it is when you're doing these tech talks, when you're doing this presentation, and whether it's a technical presentation or a non-technical presentation, what's the story? What's the message that you're communicating to the audience? And start out, say, hey, either some people do back and forth communication depending on the size of the room. Some people actually, if they're really good, they'll survey the room and they'll ask questions, and you have to raise your hand if you've done it or not, so if you're familiar or not. And so they have they can have the same slide deck, but have 2 different presentations or 2 different angles that they can take it at. And that's how you're comfortable with your presentation and you're comfortable with your material. So you can say, so how many are familiar with X, Y, and Z? And then based off the survey of the room, you're going to give them a different feel. That's when like, you're in the pocket, you're ready to go, you're taking control of the room. But the whole thing is, like you said, Clarence, you have to somehow communicate that to them, and that is a challenge. That's a skill that I think we all will be working on for a lifetime, making sure they know what parts of the technology that you're discussing is not easy and what part is. And sometimes you just come out and say it, like, hey, this is not hard, or this is hard. So so that's one thing that is like a skill that's built over time, and you never really truly are finished like trying to master on that skill. But what is like the best way that you all prepare as far as for presentations, whether it's in the office or at a conference or at a small meetup? Like, how do you all prepare for that? I heard JB said she likes to actually record, which is one of my go-tos as well. I don't want to, regardless of how reliable the system is, you never know, something's going to go out. Yeah. So true. I save it on my Google Drive. I save it on the local. I save it everywhere. So I'm with JB. I know a lot of people get props for live demos and all that. I'm cool. I just want to present well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'm one of those people that's like, I'll give you a live demo after, so you can see that it really truly works. But right now, I want to make sure I get this story, across, so that, because when you have that lull of trying to do the live demo, that's when you have the possibility of losing your audience. Right. And you're trying to keep that attention and, keep them thinking about the possibilities that this project could be for them. And so, when you have that, recording, that you can just keep straight through. And then it's like, if you want to see the live demo after this, meet me at, such and such spot. I'll show it to you. Yeah.
Exactly. And for me, under the perfect storm, like perfect amount of time, which is never like that. You always get called into stuff and it's like shorter than what you would like to prepare. But I love to go, if you have an opportunity to go where you're presenting at, fill out the space. How does it sound in there? How does it feel in there? Is it cold? Is it hot? What type of, the clickers. If you're going, a lot of times you're, a lot of times you're on a system that you've never been before, like you've never used the system before. And it throws you off if it's your first time going up there with hundreds of people in the auditorium or thousands of people, however, and like you don't even know where to like click stuff at. So like that's a big thing. So if you have the opportunity to go in the space beforehand, I would definitely recommend. And a lot of conference they'll give you time to like go to the place beforehand. It's not mandatory, but they say, hey, here's the option where it'll be open through these times. And if not, always ask if you're around. Say, hey, can I check out where I'm talking? Or if you know someone who's taught in that space before. And we're talking like auditoriums, so like what type of how's the feel there? Always ask that. So that's one of my big preps is trying to find out as much as I can about the space as possible beforehand, and even visiting there as well. How about you, Clarence?
I was gonna say, I think that's super important because I don't know about y'all, but I've been to plenty presentations where I've done presentations and like you get in there and nothing works, and the administrator that normally runs the room, they can't get anything to work. So now you got all these computer people who are like trying to figure out this simple thing of like, why isn't my PC connecting to the projector? And then like it normally does that, you know, and then it's just like everybody's like, you got multiple people in the room, you know, screaming out different things to try. They're like, oh, I did this before, I tried this before, and that still doesn't work. And so now you've basically lost, you know, 10, 20, sometimes even 30 minutes just to even try to get to your point. And now, you know, that takes away from you because you won't even have enough time to actually, you know, finish up your whole presentation. You only might be able to get half of it done. So that takes away from your audience. And now, you know, they got to make that decision. Are they going to move on to whatever was next? Or if it's in the office space, if they got other meetings, you know, can they move stuff around? So yeah, I definitely think it's definitely good to kind of prepare beforehand. I will add too that I've done live and I've done pre-recorded, and I like both. It just depends on the audience that I'm giving the presentation to. If it's a little bit smaller scale, a little bit more, I guess, intimate, you know, I'll do like a live demo. But I will say, like, I probably prefer pre-recorded a little bit more because I've at least walk through what I'm presenting, because I don't know about y'all, but sometimes, you know, when you're doing live demos, you start to feel, you know, you get into this feeling, and then before you know it, you don't even realize you're over promising stuff. They're like, oh, we could change this, or oh, we could do that, or, you know, people are throwing out more ideas, and you're just like, because you're trying to, you know, razzle dazzle, you're like, yeah, we could do that, we could definitely add that. And then like you get back, you finish up, and you're like, we can't do that, we totally are not going to be able to find how to do that.
You bring up a good point. When you said that you might overpromise things. So for me, that is one of the biggest difference from talking in academia or in class versus talking for an organization or a business. You want to know what to say and what not to say. And when you get nervous and sometimes you just write off things, if you do say it, it's correct after. It might feel weird or odd. Just want to say, you know what, I misspoke, and correct it. So sometimes some people they're so afraid to correct themselves. We're all human, correct? Like, it's okay to correct yourself. Don't walk out of that room with the overpromise from a customer or someone from a talk, and that's just not good. So I would say that's one of the like biggest difference I've experienced from academia to like the professional world. JB, do you have any like big differences that you've learned? Because we've all had to do the project presentations in school. So how is that from like working in the professional world?
I feel like when you're doing project presentations, it's a lot simpler, just because of the fact that when I say project presentations, I'm talking about in academia. It's a lot simpler just because of the fact that you know, usually in academia, it's a close-knit group. Well, for us, it was a close-knit group because we went to a smaller school. So it's like we knew everyone that was in our space with us. And so you were with those people for years. And so you've grown accustomed to that group of people. And so it's okay. But when you're in corporate and you're with a customer, whether it's a new customer, old customer, whether this is a new project for you or a project that you've been working on for years, all of those things make a difference when you're giving that tech talk. Because if this is a new customer, pressure's on, because you could be the person that, you know, keeps this customer on, or you could kind of, you know, fumble the bag a little bit. But if it's a customer that you have had for a while, same thing could happen. And so, making sure that you know your audience really helps out in that space. And usually for projects, projects tend to be, fairly big. And so you're having to cover not only the stuff that you worked on, but stuff that other people have worked on. So you have to, gain that knowledge from everyone else to make sure you're covering the full spectrum of this project and making sure that people understand, what goes into this so that, if you do overpromise, they can even be like, wait a minute, that sounds like a lot, because you have so much going on in a particular project and things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think to briefly add to that, when you think about like the big difference is that in academia, a lot of times when you're presenting to a group, you'll have faculty who are familiar with, kind of the things that you're building or, kind of what you're working on. So you at least kind of have that comfort of knowing like if you slip up, somebody else who might have a little bit more detail can, either pick up where you left off, add to it, to kind of give it a little bit more detail versus like, in the corporate space, a lot of times you might be presenting something to folks who don't have any idea. So, you have to, all they could do is go off of what you tell them. And so you want to make sure that you have thorough details. You want to make sure that you're very clear on what you're trying to deliver. And so that they actually walk out of the room with a better understanding of what all you're about to offer.
True. And one thing I want to make sure I cover before we get off, best ways to prepare. Make sure Clarence, you actually mentioned it. Make sure you know what the hookups are where you're presenting. If you're bringing your own laptop, most places are prepared for, Windows machines. Macs, on the other hand, make sure you got that adapter with you. There have been plenty of times where I've seen people, they come into the room and they're just like, wait, you don't have the adapter? And it's like, this is your MacBook. So why should I, as the facilitator, have an adapter for your, machine? And so making sure that, you're prepared on all fronts as you go into the space. Make sure you go to the bathroom if you need to, and all these other things, because make sure you have that water. Because, when you're talking a lot, your mouth gets dry, and now you're up there with cotton mouth and you're, excuse me, having to go through that a lot. And so these are things to make sure that you don't distract people from, you're muted. These are the things that
get
make
you
sure
some
you
halls.
don't distract people. Yes.
Those halls. I like the fruit ones, the vitamin C ones, and sometimes you gotta go serious and get like the hardcore. Did you just drink some mouthwash flavor as well?
You got I feel like from speech class, it really embedded in my mind that I'll work as hard as I can up until that last minute to just get myself together. I mean, of course, having water is handy, or like you said, some type of beverage. So if you get a dry mouth, but as far as speech go, it's like it's in my soul. Don't have gum, don't have any. Don't have.
Oh
any
yeah, not while you're talking, you'll choke.
Yeah,
but before, because sometimes you'll have to sit in the audience and like you're not going to just walk up the last second. You have to sit there for a while. You just sitting there. Okay, let me pop a haul in. You would take it out before you get up there, but it's a lot of moving pieces for sure though. But yeah, I wouldn't talk with it. I would choke on it.
And another way I like to prepare is, especially if I have slides, I like to go ahead and talk through, have a plan of what I'm going to talk about. There's some people who I know that just have the ability to wing it. Hey, Puma.
Hey, Puma. Needed some love. A little bit of love.
Good boy. Puma wanted to be YouTube famous. That's okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sorry, JB.
Yeah, I know some people who, they can wing it. They're like, okay, I know my project front and back, and they can just get up there and, talk, and they can talk for days. And there's never a dull moment. They, have it well versed and it just flows. And I know me personally, I'm not that person. I need to make sure that, I think about the topics that, someone may have a question about, but they don't want to ask until the end. And now I have to come all the way back to like the middle of my presentation. And it's like, oh, right here on this particular slide, this particular piece. And I want to think about those things beforehand so that I can cover that, answer those easy questions early type of thing.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think too, I've seen like from multiple tech talks kind of like, and what I try to do when I do give like a presentation is definitely adding a little bit of personality to it. I feel like sometimes you go to some and it's like you're listening to a recording or a robot.
You
So, you got to be able to read your room, but even if you throw in like a little bit of humor or just something that, ties it to, your audience, that makes a big difference, and that kind of draws in your audience to actually be, more intrigued of what you're talking about and not just saying, "Ooh, I can't wait till this is over."
Lunch after this, right? Okay.
Exactly. But we've all had some pretty good advice, but do you all think it's worth it? Like, why, like, is it worth doing the tech talks? Do you like, what are the benefits from it, or why should we do it?
I would say one really good benefit is, number one, it ensures that you know your project inside and out. But it also helps to ensure, not with knowing your project inside and out, that you're able to convey that in a smooth fashion to people, regardless of the audience that you have. Because if you're in a tech room, you can kind of get down in the weeds, but not too much, because of the fact that you have a time slot that you're trying to cover. But if you have a not so technical group, you know that you got to get into that high level space. And so, if I know my project inside and out, then I can think about the ways to convey this message to people, regardless of what audience that I'm with.
Yeah, I think I definitely think it's super beneficial. I think one thing I've learned over the years of my career is that like you never know who you're going to be chatting with. And I think like doing tech talks definitely helps you get a little bit more open-minded of what you do and kind of the projects that you work on. But, you just never know if you're going to be in the elevator with your CIO or, that kind of thing. And they ask you, what do you do? And I mean, you tense up. I mean, if you're already, if you're already familiar with, presenting to 2 or 3 people, in your group, or however many people that might be in your department, that's a good little soft skill to kind of build up on and just kind of have in your back pocket so that you become more confident in everything that you do, and just to be able to just actually talk about it and not feel like, oh, I'm gonna bore you, or, you're not going to get it. But, it's just a good practice.
Yeah.
For me, I think I'm always looking for ways to, I think anyone that's looking to progress forward they're always looking for ways to stand out, or to have that extra skill set. A lot of times I always tell developers that, hey, like, get a good foundation with your writing your software, but also learn all the deployment stuff, learn the automation stuff, learn the DevOps tools, learn how to run things in the cloud. Don't just stick to one skill. It's good to go deep, but it's also good to have a little width there when it comes to your skill set. And the being able to go in and do the technical presentations and get up and speak in front of folks, and you have the technical knowledge, that's giving you that width, that's widening your audience. You never know. Some people might have it to where they just want you to, that's all they want you to do. That's another job opening that if you didn't talk, it wouldn't have been a job for you. But if you do your development and you do your technical work and you also do presentations, now that's another opportunity for you. And it's for me, it's a leadership role. Like, when you're getting up and doing a presentation, you're leading the dance. People are there listening to you, to what you have to say. That's you taking control and being able to like have your voice and be heard. So I think it's a great opportunity. A lot of people shy away from stepping into it, but practice makes perfect. Well, practice doesn't make perfect, but practice helps you to get better and more comfortable in it. So yeah. I say it's good. And for me, my number one reason for it to do it is exposure, and also to be able to give back. Like, it's good to, the community only works when people are giving back to it. So I think it's good to give back as well.
I thought you brought up a funny point, about that could be kind of like your new job. And I know sometimes, like when we have vendors that come through and, like they're giving presentations, I'll joke with my coworkers and like, I want that. I want to do that. You come in there with your nice little button up, you maybe a nice little, laptop bag and all of the company swag. They pay for you to go there. You get to go have lunch with people that interested people that you get a chance to meet and kind of just do a little bit more networking. But like that it could be an actual good opportunity if that's what you're really good at.
Great opportunity for sure.
So I had a question for you all. Like we talked about how you do tech talks and how you prepare and that kind of thing, but are you ever nervous when it comes down to Q&A when you finish?
I mean, kind of. Just because there's always the chance to have someone in the audience that's, trying to throw you that curveball. And so those types of things make me nervous. But when I made sure that I did all the preparation that I needed to do, beforehand, I'm usually pretty comfortable with the questions. And if this is a repetitive presentation that I'll do some other time or that I've done before, I usually take those questions that I got from those and work on them to answer them throughout my presentation. So you kind of take from the end, put it in the middle somewhere, and continue that process. And so for me, it's kind of a toss up. Yeah. How about you, Terrence?
Yeah, it can be nerve wracking if like JB said, depending on how familiar you are with the topic. There are going to be some topics you're going to be talking about where the experts are sitting in the audience and you're talking to them about their expertise. So I've been in that situation. I've been in a situation where everyone in the audience is non-technical and you're the expert, which you'll be surprised. They'll still call you out on some stuff, but it's not as hard as speaking to people who are experts in the field. And never be afraid to say that that's a good question. I'll get back to you. That's okay as well. Good job, man. Is that a new mic you have?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell the difference.
The Yeti.
All right. Come on, Blue.
Out here with the upgrades.
Come on, Blue. Give our third co-host needs a blue mic.
Yeah.
Get him a Yeti.
Yeah.
But yeah, so never be afraid. If you don't know the answer, I wouldn't try to don't make it up.
No, please don't.
But yeah, Q&A can be nerve-wracking. So some people, if they have a certain amount of time, they just go ahead and fill up that entire time. So it's not going to be but so many questions. Some people do that. But you do generally want to leave some time for folks to ask questions. So, and a good way to help for that too, if you are really nervous about that, if you have technical folks that can do the presentation beforehand, have them ask you questions. So they might find holes in your slides and presentations as well. So that's a good point. Oh, and we didn't say it, but don't read your slides. And I think that's kind of like that's a given. Don't read your slides.
And not a lot of words.
That's there as a for the audience to use as a reference block, but you tell the story. You have that point and you tell the story, and it's actually easier. At least for me, it's easier that way. So, but yeah, Q&A is fun. It's fun.
I had a second part to that question because I think you made a good point towards the end of your statement was that sometimes some tech talks that you go to, they might try to fill up the space all the way up to so it's limited questions. But have you experienced where there were no questions at all? And were you excited that there were no questions, or were you like, did you end up? Because I know I've done it before where it's like no questions, so I'm just like, really, like nobody had anything to ask, just because I feel like did I bore you? What's going on here?
If it's a lot, go ahead, JB. I was gonna say if it's like an auditorium, you're gonna have questions because it's just the numbers game. There's gonna be people who want the spotlight as well and want to be able to either show that they either know that you're full of it and you have holes in whatever you're discussing, or they just want to really better understand so they can take that information back and use it appropriately. So you have both ends of the spectrum. But for me, it's been mostly positive. For the most part, you might have one or two people that just aren't that nice, but for the most part, even if people know like you might have been off here or there, everyone knows like, hey, it's not easy being up there all the time. So
I mean, for me, it's one of those things where I I really don't know how to feel about it. Just because sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I, covered the topic so well that people are just like, well, I had that question that, at some point during the presentation, but she answered it type of thing and kind of move on from it. Other times it's like you said, am I boring the group? Were you guys just not listening? Were you waiting on that lunch moment?
Right. Or was
Type
it
of
too
thing.
much
So,
information that it's like, I
yeah,
don't even know what to ask?
the eyes gloss over. It's just like it went over my head. I don't know. And so I mean that brings on a bunch of questions, and with that, you can also um, talk to the people that who are in the audience, and ask them about it. Like, or how did you feel about the presentation? Or did you not have questions because of such and such? Because gaining that feedback helps you prepare for your next. And so having feedback is always a great thing because you can gauge where you are within the space. And so yeah.
Makes sense.
if no one's asking questions in my technical presentations, I don't have friends in the audience. I'm always playing friends in the audience that's going to ask me some questions.
Yes, you over there.
No,
like,
but that's
look
another
like you
trick
had a
too. Some
question.
people, have folks in the audience to ask questions too. But normally it's a good sign if people are asking questions. So I would prefer for folks to ask questions than to
Definitely.
not, or at least clarification, something.
I respect that.
All right, Clarence.
All right, Clarence.
It's your time to shine.
It's my go. So, to bring this one home, we covered a lot today, but I will say, like, the main thing, the main ending is that, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I feel like I got a little choked up there too. I was so ready, and now it just didn't want to flow. But anyway, so prepare. If you're given a tech talk, there's no such thing as under preparing. Cover all of your bells and whistles, if not even more than that.
There's definitely a thing of under preparing. You
Yeah.
mean over preparing.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy that just rolls out of bed and it's like, I'm gonna talk to the people today.
Yeah.
But continue.
Yeah. Just, take the time. It's definitely time that's not wasted. And when you finish, you'll feel a whole lot better. Your presentation will really go well. And, people will actually, not just because people will judge you if you're not prepared. They might not tell you, you might not see it, but just know you're the talk at the lunch that they've been waiting on. but definitely, make sure that you're prepared. And if you aren't given tech talks, definitely, go to some tech talks. It's a good chance to learn about a lot of different things that's going on. Just, branch out, get a chance to meet different people, see different things that are going on. And again, one of the things that we mentioned earlier in the podcast is that when it came to the news, that you never know if that tech talk is going to be that next thing you read an article about how, they did something that was awesome. And now everybody, it wants a piece of that pie. So, but yeah, so just to end out here, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment. If you've given any tech talks and you have some good points that we didn't cover, please share. We can definitely all grow from that. But if you also have any questions of how to get started, that kind of thing, also reach out to us. We would definitely appreciate that. But other than that, guys, I think that's a good episode.
Yeah, definitely. I'll just add one more thing. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us at devslikeus@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, devslike.us, and, just browse the material.
I like it. All right,
All right, guys.
I'm Clarence.
That's it. JB.
And I'm Terrence.